more competitive, to maximize the relevance of their research to funding agency programs, high priority areas. I will advance together with you the success in the tripartite mission. I also assist the dean and the director in developing and monitoring research budgets through those capacity building funding mechanisms. I'm familiar with that because I served at USDA capacity building grant program reviews, and that I know how the program runs and is aimed at, and how competitive grants are developed. We will get more grants from external sources, including industry, foundations, donors, you name it. There are a lot of opportunities. So I will make sure to implement the NIFA plan of work. I communicate with Dr. Fairs. I asked him some questions about that, so he has provided me some links about resources available on the webpage about this work plan. I'm very familiar with this. It's essentially a strategic and specific goals, list of those, and aligned with the NIFA science emphasis areas. That's what we get to align ourselves with. That is also true for funding priority areas. And there are a lot of extension opportunities with extension that we can pursue, working or linking research with extension. There are specific extension and research grant programs called the integrated grant programs we can get. The strategic plan of the CARC would be to align well with the plan of the college and the university. In fact, college has already a specific strategic plan that includes CARC. And so what we got to do is very clear, and everything is needed. Ingredients are already here. So there's a need for, and I know that you're working on food and fiber systems, natural resources, local capacity building for economic vibrancy, as well as the health and nutrition and safety of Texans and the other parts of our country. We need to develop future students and workforce as well. And we need to provide new knowledge. That is, our students, our researchers, this institution should be the producer of the knowledge, new knowledge, not the consumer of the knowledge all the time. So we need to have resiliency in the food and fiber systems as the global climate changes and many challenges we face, society, social-wise as well. But the bottom line is we always need food, security in mind. We need safe food. We need future agricultural people, scientists. So I will then work with the CARC to lead it into the excellence. You have an excellent farm over here. I see this as fundamental part of university's mission for research, teaching, as well as the extension. This farm could be used in many, many other ways in addition to what you have already. For example, there could be businesses invited here to lease or to do science or research for them. All, of course, for expenses that could be charged to those private companies. There could be workshops, and we had over there in Mississippi, breakfast at the farm. Over 1,000 kids signed up. By the way, everybody has to pay. So this is important because we need to look at things as a business. What is the bottom line that can help us sustain and that help us move into the future? Because we are in a competition, both in resources-wise, funding, student-wise too. The best students should come here because of the excellent research, experiential learning, learn by doing opportunities that you have here. So we got to have financial health of the farm through mechanism of management and financial sort of models. We got to make sure that farm sustains a healthy financial status. We need to make sure that we are visible. I'm a big, prolific writer because I learned that if it's not written, it did not happen. Is that right? Please say yes. If it's not written, it did not happen. Thank you. So we got to write what we produce to help others develop science and to help us become more visible, both nationally and internationally. And so there are a lot of new technologies. Now, USDA funds a lot of research, and they would love to hear the stories, outcomes of the funding that they provided for the research in this place. So they'd love to have that story written as a paragraph, and you send that to NIFA. NIFA will send it out to the people across the country. It's just a free tool to empower yourself. There could be a lot of workshops and conferences like the GOAT conference that you're going to have soon. But we also make sure that we are compliant with animal welfare and responsible use of animals in research through IACUC protocols that are easy to use, easy to apply for researchers, and committees accessible. We need to also make sure that we have biosecurity. There are a lot of folks in our country, in our community, where because of their less informed situation, they become animal rights people. We respect everybody's opinion. However, we cannot let them destroy our resources, including the farm. So I suggest to have a biosecurity barrier so that people are screened and only those who need to be there can be there. So I will promote all of these things to make sure that the farm is an indispensable part of the success story here. Extension is vital opportunity for researchers. So I'm so glad that you have faculty members with extension and research appointments. So um, I also value extension because extension folks work with real world problems. They solve real world problems. So researchers can use those problems to address and to seek grants rather than producing artificial problems. Sometimes that happens in research labs. I would encourage to facilitate multidisciplinary, multidimensional type of studies that would look at different problems or the same problems with different approaches. These are very powerful. There are a lot of things that are important for us to partner with the K-12 system. We can use these as recruiting mechanisms as well. 4-H, FFA, these are all vital opportunities for us to work with extension, to get grants, use the farm to strengthen not just our programs, but also future students as well. We need to connect with our community, and looks like Prairie A&M is doing a good job. We have programs with the communities, and that we need to make sure that we sustain those programs and improve them. There are a lot of opportunities with industry. It's easy to communicate with the industry. I would encourage that and bring the industry to the CARC and have the researchers interact with them, develop programs, and we can write both papers and grants, and essentially there's no limit for what we can do, folks. I would like to help them develop and build an interworking relationship between the extension and research folks in this university, the college, and making sure that stakeholders are included. We get feedback or feed forward. We need to impact positively the whole mission of the university to make sure that we are relevant and we are exceeding expectations. A couple of brief slides, and then I will wrap it up. I have quite a bit of experience, and I'm very passionate about faculty development, student development, postdoc development, because we need to make sure that the faculty has the resources they need, they have access to professional development, and that as the CARC executive director, I would work with the directors to listen to researchers, to remove barriers from their successful pursuit of the research, extension, or teaching, to make sure that I grow the pie. That is, I would generate funding for as resource for the faculty members. Through research grants, through education grants, through extension, I would work together with the directors to generate grants to support faculty with students and other facilities, equipment, and all that. Faculty members need to have enough quality time and quantity of that time to focus on their research, because the competitiveness of the proposal directly relates to the quality time that you invest in the program. I have been mentoring a lot of junior faculty, and I work well with senior faculty too, so don't take me wrong. I've been through all stages of academic life, and I really enjoy working with people. And I will make sure that faculty is empowered, and they are recognized, and they are promoted, and I have the attitude of gratitude type of approach for this. Likewise, support staff, we need to make sure they are given clear guidance, very specific guidance that they need to achieve their task. Make sure they have resources, and make sure that we get feedback from them and recognize, appreciate, and award them. These folks are so important. We need to be very mindful about that. Graduate students, I've had always graduate students and got involved with graduate school programming. I serve as a judge and all those things. So I would be very happy to work with the graduate school here to strengthen the graduate program at the college, at the university, by making sure that students are empowered really well with not only knowledge but also their communication skills. Make sure they have served and been well trained for future needs of the faculty. That is, what would make them competitive in the faculty job applications. We will do exactly that through collaborations. Likewise, undergraduate students have tremendous sort of opportunities for us to uh, have them in our research laboratories through experiential learning. And I'm glad your college actually has many programs to do that. I've been doing that, and I would like to do that over here to not only empower them, but also to publish with them and that to strengthen publish faculty's research programs, get research grants. So the best is yet to come, essentially. That's what my whole point is. With that, folks, I really appreciate your attention, and I just wanted to make sure that I leave enough time for questions. And I really like this thing that PEG is back, making it better, making it matter. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Memili, and the floor is open for question and answers. I'd like to start from our colleagues who are joining us online, and I have a question here from Dr. Sharon McQueenie. She's asking, as a research director, what weaknesses, if any, have you identified in our research program here, and how would you plan on addressing those weaknesses?
Well, thank you very much for the question. I've seen a lot of strengths in your research programs here, and of course, there's room for improvement all the time. More publications, more grants, more innovative resources. For example, do we have all the technologies available for cutting-edge research? So I would say make sure that faculty are empowered to develop the best compelling grants, number one. Number two, faculty make sure they are very productive. They are prolific publishers of research, teaching, or extension publications. Number three, make sure we have resources available for them, including facilities and equipment. I've seen your farm information at college and university, but I have not seen your documents on equipment, facilities, and other resources. I would, if it's not well developed, I would encourage you to develop excellent documents for facilities and equipment. You highlight everything, the strengths, take pictures of those, because those of the facilities here are not available in other places. So you have competitive edge, but oftentimes I see in research proposals, they are not very well documented. You make sure you develop really good equipment document, facilities document, other resources document, and those are some of those things. And of course, improving the image through the web page would help a lot. I found that a lot of information through a bit more reading and all that, and so the web page could be improved. But I'm telling you, you've got everything that just needs to be connecting the dots and a innovative leadership through the CARC, who will then work effectively with the leadership in the college and the university. But thank you for the question.
Any question from the audience here?
Plural, because I should be having at least 3 questions, right, gentlemen? So yes? Good. I planted questions request early.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned the collaborative project with Alcorn and Jackson State. What would you say would be the factors that made that collaboration successful, since you had some students that graduated? Or
yes,
you could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Williams, for the question is, what makes it successful? What made it successful for me to collaborate with the HBCUs in Mississippi? My personal motivation was number one, I really like to empower women and minorities in STEM fields. That was number one. And number two is the willingness and the opportunities, including students, available at the HBCUs. So faculty members were very forthcoming to work with me, and the responsibility. So we all work together to develop a strategic plan to collaborate and we did exactly that. So I think it's just the motivation to collaborate with HBCUs and the people skills that you have to kind of work with other people and being open-minded to other ideas and listen to students. We retained all the students. That was very important. Uh, and to do that, I had to visit with the students, and students had a little bit of a taste of success. That has helped them succeed. And that's the same thing for faculty too. Once they taste the success, they do really well. And we made sure that we had created a sense of community among the cohorts of the students. So those are very important. By the way, I use that as mentoring the mentors as well. And I learned quite a lot. We peer mentored each other, and I'm very happy about that. Thanks.
Another question from online: where do nutrition and human sciences fit your vision for research and development in the college?
Yes, in fact, that fits right in the center of my vision to achieve excellence in the land grant mission. Because you see, the One Health and the environmental or all these challenges affect the nutrition and the healthy lifestyle that we need to have to essentially increase the quality of life for people. That's number one American pursuit is the pursuit of happiness, quality of life. That has a lot to do with nutrition, human sciences. There are a lot of challenges there. So I would listen to those the directors as well as faculty to find out their needs and essentially give them autonomy to do the research, listen to them to create opportunities, essentially create pie and generate resources, remove barriers, as well as celebrate, tell the success stories. I would like to make sure that we are more visible with the great science research, as well as extension in nutrition and human science as well. So this is in the central of the mission of CARC. Yeah.
So thank you. My question is, looks like that you have explored so much things in our college, like 4 pillars of the college: research, teaching, extension, and perm. So by doing the exploration, I hope you have find some gaps or the pieces are not connected well together. So what do you think you are going to, how do you going to fill the gaps that you have noticed so far to take our college to the next level?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I have seen a lot of strengths. I've seen the ecosystem already present with the functional domains. So what it means, the gaps, a couple of things. To increase the output, publications, grant numbers. I have not seen them on the web page, but I know you have grant support because quality research needs external funding to make sure that this fund is sort of sustainable funding-wise. So number one, increase publications, output. Number two is get more research grants. Number two, have more businesses in the farm or incubator park over here to sort of have a business mind, entrepreneurial. You know, you could do a lot of minors in agriculture and I mean business and other fields to develop students that are more who are more sort of future workforce ready. I have not seen the evaluations, but I am sure there's always room for improvement for that. And I also have seen the gaps in the telling the stories. I came over here and I just realized, wow, this is a great place. But from the web pages and everything, it seems like it's not that obvious. So I would tell the stories, highlight the achievements of the faculty, and making sure that we have industry partnerships. I haven't seen a lot of industry academic partnerships established over here. It could be that there are some, I'm sure. So those could be improved. So research productivity, and I'm not. It's not quite clear to me how well students are empowered. That is, are we developing future leaders? Is our curriculum geared towards what last decade or present day or future? We need to develop the students who are way ahead. We need to make sure that. So these are some of those things that I noticed that could be increased, and I'm sure you have already some of those things here, and I've seen evidence of that. And more importantly, and more exciting, I noticed that you have everything available here, and I would just work through the CARC and with faculty and the leadership to enhance the quality and make sure that we have a sustainable system for excellence in the land grant mission.
It's here. I think we do have one here.
You,
Go ahead.
you have mentioned increased funding or increased opportunities for funding. And a large portion of the funding and grants here are USDA. How would you expand that to the other federal agencies, NSF, NIH, in that area?
Sure. Thank you for the question. It's very straightforward. Simply put, agriculture, food security, and the One Health, environment, these are all in the high priority areas of funding agencies. It just needs to be developed in a way that addresses the high priority areas of those funding agencies. So how would you do that? To answer your question, we would just visit with the funding agency program directors to come over here or connect us with the through virtual systems, tell us about their programs. What do they have? And tell us the priority areas. I would connect the faculty with the program directors at these funding agencies, NSF, NIH, USDA. There are other foundations too, including NASA, Department of Education. These are all great sources who have direct interest in funding us right here. And good news is their budgets have all increased recently. I haven't seen any funding agency that reduced the funding, levels and numbers-wise. So the opportunities are there. Their high area of funding programs areas include what we have here. So it's above and beyond USDA, NIFA, indeed. It just needs to be geared, our proposals, to human health, for example. NIH allows that. Nutrition and health. All these stressors, environmental impact, and COVID. You have research programs over here. Those are directly applicable to NIH. NSF allows to address fundamental challenges in the environment, and your research fits really well. NSF also, by the way, allows to fund student development. They have grant programs. So I would help the faculty or lead or co-lead grant programs for education from NSF. They have both undergraduate REU as well as GRFP, graduate level fellowships. USDA has the same thing. NIH has the same thing. They have postdoc, Ph.D, as well as minority diversity enhancement programs. These are just educational, in addition to research programs that they can fund. There are some programs between NSF, NIH, and USDA. They kind of overlap a little bit, and those programs can be explored as well. Department of Education, definitely we need to reach out to them and say, here's the workforce we would like to develop. What do you have programs for us to write grant programs from? So I would say there's no limit. And the way that to get this is very straightforward. I would mentor the faculty, bring the funding agency directors over here, communicate with them, and then faculty would write a paragraph about their research ideas, email to the program director to have a brief meeting about maximizing the relevance of that idea to their program. They would tell you, these people are great people waiting for scientists to reach out and ask questions to them. So likewise, we would establish programs, and in fact, we already have, to empower faculty to develop best ways to write grants, facilitate grant submissions. You see, there are different requirements, for example, between NSF and USDA and NIH, slightly different emphasis areas. So we need to make sure that those are present in the grant application. And also make sure that faculty, I would encourage them to serve in grant review panels. I spend a lot of time in grant review panels. I know exactly what happens in our country right now in at least biological sciences research areas. Who is funded in what areas? What are the specific funding agency programs? And there are a lot of readings and books and seminars, lunch and learn seminars we could do, bring Nobel laureates right here, either virtually or in person. And that all of a sudden will increase the visibility of the institution and the programs. Next thing you know, you would have diversified funding mechanisms and programs through different agencies. Thanks for the question.
I have a question on behalf of the postdocs. They would like to say, what role do you think postdoc can play in your vision and vision of CARC?
Yes, they are very indispensable parts of a high caliber research institution. Simply put, They turn ideas into data, data into new knowledge. Isn't that exciting? Please say yes. Yeah, you develop new knowledge. And postdocs are at the forefront of that. I love having postdocs in the lab because 100% research. And I think they should be recognized, provided facilities and resources to not just thrive, but also sort of flourish and become workforce ready for the next step. So it's just a really an exciting time in your career, but a lot of people see it a very stressful time, those type of things. Look at the positive side, move forward. And the best is yet to come. Gain some teaching experience. I would provide those to the postdocs. Yeah. One question over
One
there.
more question. Do you have a question? Okay, sure.
Yes.
Okay, so you talked about how you would enhance or push CARC forward. Where would you start in, say, your first 50 days?
So glad you asked that. So first, first starting, I would do several things. First off, I would visit with everybody. I just would like to talk with everybody, to listen to them and find out the needs and the challenges and opportunities there. And then I have a lot of ideas. For example, I would look at this situation in the whole system-wide, and how can we leverage what we have to deliver immediate, for example, success in grant programs, success in publication, success in the image, the improvement of the programs. And by listening to people, we would generate a priority list of actionable items, and we're going to pursue those. And within a short amount of time, six months, I would have a priority list to go after that. I'm a very dynamic type of person, and I'm excited to work with people. So once we have the priorities, I would have development plans for each of the members who work with me, and that would achieve the priorities. I would work with the administration to find out. You have the strategic plan right there. It's already written. The blueprint is there. So we would just go after those sort of goals and achieve and enhance the land grant mission. What are we talking about in research? Well, research means more grant applications turned in, and more successful grants coming from external sources. More scholarship. Publication is so important. We need to make sure we are very prolific publishers. Help facilitate that. We need to make sure that we teach the students the new knowledge that will be ready for the next workforce. And by the way, we published pedagogical articles too. We flourish by making sure that we tell our stories. With the extension programs, within the 6 months or so, we will have programs in place where the extension and resources will collaborate, and we'll have tangible results within a year, and we'll sustain those success. So those are some of the things that, as far as how to start, by visiting with people first, and then finding the priorities, working again with the people and leadership and faculty members, staff members, to move forward in those every part of the strategic actionable plans we have. Very good.
We have another question from online from Eric Risch. He's one of our research scientists. He's asking about graduate program and how do you help graduate students in research and publications?
Many ways. You have already an excellent vice president for research, and they have a lot of programs there. Graduate students need to publish first. Before that, they need to be trained really well in scientific thinking, how to think scientifically, how to find the gaps in the knowledge base through a thorough literature search, and finding out how to think scientifically and develop scientific questions. How to develop hypotheses. What's the difference between discovery research and hypothesis-driven research? So a lot of these things can be very easily taught to graduate students through a scientific writing class or other ways that the Vice President of Research has, and we could create one. I'd be happy to develop one. So the first one is to empower students in scientific thinking, finding the gaps in the knowledge base, developing those irresistible ideas, empowering their faculty mentors, and then making sure that there's a program in place to help students develop manuscripts. There are a lot of resources available. I would love to develop one if there's a need, although we already have one. So students can be empowered also to a program called Future Faculty Program. We have that at Mississippi State. I was involved with that. We need to have a list of things that students would need to be competitive in the next step in their career. These are all achievable. You have all the resources right here. It's just a matter of putting programs together. We need to publish, make sure we encourage them to publish, give them awards, and make sure they are members of professional associations, they attended those, and they serve in the committees of those professional associations, and they have the mentoring experience through guiding undergraduate research programs, and there are just a whole list of great attainable goals and programs that we can develop right here by connecting the dots and providing students opportunities to be workforce ready, but the most competitive workforce ready. Yeah.
I have one question from one of our professors, Sharon McQueenie. She's asking about your intake about sustainable agriculture in urban and suburban area and the role of CARC in these areas.
Sustainable, profitable, environmentally resilient agriculture, what we call precision agriculture, all of these things are so important. So what we can do a lot. For example, we can work with the industry, we can work with the extension, we can work with agencies, stakeholders to find the most important, challenging, pressing problems they have. Then we have a roadmap or things to achieve. So we go after the challenges to develop evidence-based scientific solutions for those. So how we do that? Well, there are a lot of farmers out there really looking for extension folks. But extension folks, I think, would need to work with the researchers to translate the knowledge into kind of a layman's term to say, okay, how can you use this knowledge in your programs? So there are grant programs that we can apply with the industry and community partners. I'm talking about SARE grants and USDA integrated grants. We need business partners, and there are all kinds of things. But we first need to develop a relationship with stakeholders and farmers and producers to listen to them and to find their problems. Then we develop science-based solutions through collaborations between researchers and extension faculty to deliver evidence-based solutions for what they need.
Time, right on time. And there is no additional question. We would like to thank you, and please give Dr. Memili a round of applause here.
Thank you, everybody.